Good evening to all the undead ghouls and monsters. We are your horror hosts for tonight's Last Rites. What's up, Monster Squad? This is our last episode in our 4-part movie review. This is episode 21. And tonight we are bringing you Arcadian, Tara, and Maxine. We also have our Mount Rushmore of horror that we'll be addressing in a little bit. And tonight we'll be talking about our Rushmore of actresses. But before we get started, we would like to give a shout out to Liquid Death. Liquid Death is going to be murdering our thirst through this podcast. Tonight we have Slaughterberry and a classic, Severed Lime.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with severed lime. When all else fails, severed lime.
That's right. Easy to fall back on. So, yeah, I've never tried Slaughterberry, so...
You're going to love it. I liked it a lot.
So I can't wait to try this out.
Oh, yeah. Just as good as the first time.
Not bad. The last podcast that we did... had Convicted Melon, and that was the first time I had that one.
Yeah.
I still think that that one is better than this one.
So another new one?
But this one is still very good. I think for the tea, which also, this is a tea, and Convicted Melon was a sparkling water.
Yeah.
But as for the teas, this berry one is I think, really good. I think it's probably my number one of the teas. I would probably go this, then the Grim Leafer.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The Armless Palmer, because I refuse to call it the Dead Billionaire. Although Dead Billionaire is a pretty good name, too. I mean, given the circumstances, it's pretty good.
Yeah, eventually it'll grow on us.
Yeah, but, man, that name was so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that one was my favorite for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's probably my number 3. I thought it could have had a little more lemonade flavor to it.
Yeah.
To give it that half and half,
Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was still pretty good.
I think it's because they try to make it as less sugary as possible.
Yeah. Here's to you, Liquid Death. Thanks for murdering our thirst during this podcast.
I've been looking for that one you showed me. What is it? The chocolate fudge brownie or something like that. Hot fudge brownie, I think it's called.
Goddamn chocolate choo-choo. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, I sent it to you on a Instagram post, I think, right?
Yeah. It's gotta be very, very new because I can't find it anywhere. But
Yeah.
if I come across it, I will reluctantly pick it up and try it because honestly, I don't know. Is it a sparkling water? What is it?
I think it is a sparkling water.
That's so weird to me.
I don't think it would be a tea. Oh, hot fudge sundae.
Hot fudge sundae.
But it's a collaboration with Van Leeuwen ice cream. So that's probably why. It's Liquid Death X Van Leeuwen.
Oh, it is a sparkling water.
Oh, yeah. First hot fudge sundae sparkling water.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'll try it. It sounds like it might be along the lines of like a Yoo-hoo or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'll give it a go. It's
They-
Liquid
they-
Death, you know. I mean,
They said it tastes exactly like a hot fudge sundae, so I guess
But
we'll be
where-
the judge of that.
but where does the bubbles come in? Like,
I don't know.
I've never had a hot fudge sundae that sparkles
Or bubbled.
or bubbles, effervescence,
That is so weird.
and it's clear.
Yeah, and clear. That's another thing that's weird.
See, that's what throws me off too.
Does not contain any actual ice cream. It's just sparkling water. Because
All
people
right.
thought there was gonna be fucking ice cream in this can.
Yeah. Well, thanks for telling us.
Also, I didn't know that the Van Leeuwen was an actual like brick and mortar. Like that's crazy.
Oh.
I thought it was just one of those brands that were just like put out there like on cartons and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Yeah, hot fudge sundae. It's a limited time too thing. So like once it's gone,
Oh.
it's gone.
So if I can't find it, that's it. I didn't find it, huh?
Pretty much.
Well, hopefully I
if you
come
get-
across it. And
And if there's people out there that are collectors, then obviously they ought
True.
to, take it. Or from what I've learned though over the years is being a huge Star Wars fan, is I've collected cans with the Star Wars stuff on it, And after like close to 10 years, the soda content inside starts to eat the can.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
The sugars and everything.
Yeah. So one day there was a hole in one of my cans, and the entire shelf was just covered in sticky soda where it leaked out, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So if you're gonna collect these cans, my suggestion is to try and figure out a way to poke a hole in the bottom, let everything pour out of it, rinse it, and then that way you can display it if that's your thing.
Yeah.
So I don't do that anymore because
and that makes me feel bad. I threw away my Almost Palmer cans when I still had them. Yeah, I should have kept one at least, I guess.
Yeah, the store where they had like an abundance of them, now all of a sudden everything's dead billionaire.
Yeah, that's what I found out. Yeah.
So don't know if they got pulled from the shelf or they just got bought up, but I mean they had a shit ton. Yeah,
at a certain point somebody was selling them on eBay for like a bunch of money. I'm like, I'm not paying eBay prices for a can of soda.
Yeah, I would never pay eBay prices on that bullshit. All right, well, yeah, definitely have to look out for it. Like if I come across it, I'll definitely buy some, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, we might bring it over for a review to the podcast. All right,
cool.
What do we have for? Oh yeah,
this is our Rushmore for actresses.
Yeah,
that we're gonna bring you. I think I started last time also, so I'll just do it again this time, and then we'll switch back to you on the next ones.
Okay.
Starting off at my number 4, but these do, unlike the actors on our last podcast, I do have an order of importance on these actresses.
Okay. I'll do the same.
Okay. So my number 4 is Barbara Crampton. Barbara Crampton is known for a lot of like B horror movies. You know her in Reanimator. She had some smaller roles like in Puppet Master, and she's doing this new vampire series called Jacob's Wife. But if you're a fan of hers, she's done a lot of little things here and there and has been predominantly in the business since the early 80s. And she's also like she's not the first topless actress in horror that I've seen, but she was the second.
Oh,
so,
okay.
She has a big scene in Reanimator where she's like just completely nude, basically.
Was that the original Reanimator?
Yeah, the 85 one.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a while. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's definitely really good. But much like Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, it's got a lot of that horror humor in it. So, but overall, like it's definitely a decent movie, especially for its time.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, she's my pick for number 4, Barbara Crampton.
All right, my number 4, I got Mila Nurmi, also known as AKA Vampira. So she did mostly the Vampira show, and then she was in Plan 9 from Outer Space, directed by the real Ed Wood. She was opposite Bela Lugosi. That was Bela Lugosi's last on-screen appearance, and if you've seen the movie Ed Wood, you know all the story about that. And Mila Nurmi was actually played by
Lisa Marie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a huge crush on her, so I know all about Lisa Marie.
Tim Burton's ex-wife. Yeah, so Mila Nurmi, and notably she had that I guess legal battle with Elvira over the character and the obvious similarities.
Yeah, I think she was suing her for like intellectual properties for having the similar likeness and like same character from like when she was in this. I think it was like the 50s is when her show was on, or 60s. It was like late 50s, early 60s, something like that. And then Elvira had hers in the 80s, and then so she saw that and she's like, this bitch.
Yeah. I mean, I love them both. I'm not gonna choose sides on there other than
I think there could have been a more amicable way to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays you can call it an homage, right? But no, I understand the whole litigation.
Yeah, because everybody's really taking something from other people. Even Vampira said that she, copied her look off of what's her face from the Addams Family. Morticia.
Oh, Morticia. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally.
She from because they had the comic strip in the paper,
Makes sense.
and so that's where she kind of got her look
she
from.
got it from, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there she is, Mila Nurmi. She's a Finnish actress, American Finn, and she's got this name that I can't pronounce because it's in Finnish. Mila Elizabeth. I'm not gonna try. You guys go look it up, Google it, and if somebody speaks Finnish and knows how to pronounce it, let us know.
Yeah, break it down phonetically for us in the comments.
Yeah.
But she'll always be known to us as Vampira.
Vampira. Yep.
Yeah, we'll have to make a day one time to go out to see some of these grave sites. Like, see the headstones with them.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Like her and Bella, and you can't do Boris because I think he's in England.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, there's quite a few of the horrors that are buried out here. So
cool. Yeah, the Hollywood Cemetery.
They're spread across multiple cemeteries. Okay. In fact, back in the MySpace days, which that dates me, I used to follow these guys called the Horror Drunks, and they literally would go to all these different grave sites and take pictures of themselves just drinking and getting drunk at the headstones.
Wow.
And then obviously doing the pouring it out for the homies.
Right.
I
was gonna say.
So, but yeah. Which I think some people thought was very in poor taste, but
I mean,
it was their thing, and
we all mourn in our own ways.
Yeah, but yeah, at the time I thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. My number 3 is Dee Wallace. So Dee Wallace also got her start in the early '80s. You know her as the mom from E.T.
Yeah.
But she's been in movies like The Howling. Actually, The Howling came before E.T., but everybody, I think, saw E.T. before they saw The Howling. But yeah, she's been in Howling, Cujo, Critters. She even tried to revamp her career with the Halloween remake, Rob Zombie's Halloween. She played what was it? I think she played one of the Strode characters, like the mom. I believe that's who she was. But yeah, she's been in a lot of different. She played Cynthia Strode. But yeah, she's a great actress. Still kicking, still out there doing her thing. And then she's also been in quite a few other movies after Halloween, House of the Devil, and then Lords of Salem, which is another Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah, it looks like Rob's a fan as well.
Yeah, obviously. But who wouldn't be a fan of hers? But yeah, she is my number 3.
Very cool, very cool. I got my number 3. Vera Farmiga from the Conjureverse.
Yep. Bates Motel.
Bates Motel. She just really embodies her characters really, really well, and just the Conjuring movies. I fell in love with her. Absolutely. That's why she's my number 3.
Nice. My number 2 is Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris, you know her from Halloween 4 and 5, where she played Jamie Lloyd, who was the daughter of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, at least in that timeline. She's now known as the Scream Queen. She also not reprised her role, but she reprised herself in the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween and Halloween 2, where she actually portrayed Annie Brackett in those movies. And you had as Sheriff Brackett the voice of Chucky himself, who played her dad in the Halloween movies.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
like Mr. Brad Dwarf. And then later on, she did a little series called Hatchet, which was super cool. And then she's been in like a handful of different movies here and there. Some of them, as younger characters, like right after the Halloween 4 and 5, and then like See No Evil 2, and like I said, she did the Hatchet one. She's also has a podcast going on with Scout Taylor Compton, which I forgot what the fuck it was called. It says in 2012 she was inducted to Fangoria's Hall of Fame. She's definitely made a name for herself in horror, which has been pretty cool. a buddy of mine did an interview with her when he was working. He was an editor for some magazine, I think it was, and did an interview with her, which was super cool. But yeah, like I said, she has a podcast with Scout Taylor Compton.
So here it's called Talk Scary to Me.
Talk Scary to Me. Thank you. Yeah, really, really cool.
At some place called Bloody FM. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Cool.
right. She was in Urban Legend. She had a small role. She was like the goth girl who was getting done from behind, like when what's her face walked into the room, and she's like, "Don't you knock?"
All right, yeah. I mean, once you get the title of Scream Queen, yeah, you're in the pantheon, you know.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's the kind of what she was going for, and she achieved it. So good for her. But yeah, that's why she's my number 2.
All right, cool. My number 2 is Linda Blair.
Nice.
You know, just on that one performance alone, on The Exorcist, she made my Mount Rushmore. Admittedly, her later performances weren't so notable. And that last Exorcist movie, yeah, you know, we talked about that already.
Yeah.
But yeah, she deserves a place in the Mount Rushmore anyway, just for that one performance alone on The Exorcist.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like she got put through the ringer as a little kid.
She got put through the ringer, and she came out in one piece. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know her personally, but she seems like she's kind of well-adjusted.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you don't hear her being a drunk or fucking up her life.
Right.
So you don't really hear anything negative in the media about her. So
yeah.
Obviously she's either doing it right or she's doing right by keeping it silent.
Right. She's just keeping it really close to the vest.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did really good in The Exorcist, and that's why she's my number 2.
Cool. All right, my number 1 is the actual lady who deserves the title of Scream Queen.
Yeah.
Is Miss Jamie Lee Curtis.
Agreed.
Yeah, Jamie definitely, hands down, I think is the epitome of Scream Queens. You know, she had her first role ever in Halloween, at least in film, Halloween. Then she went on to do The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train, and then at that point she kind of just was done with horror, and she moved her life on to bigger and better things. So she started doing things, of comedy, and then some action, adventure. I think really one of her big breakouts was True Lies, where she started opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I think,
unforgettable performance.
Yeah.
How can you forget that one?
Yeah, and then she had a really good role in Fish Called Wanda, which got her a lot of acclaims and awards. And it wasn't until she came back to the Halloween franchise in the H2O timeline. And then she also made her resurgence in the David Gordon Green timeline. Definitely a class act on her, coming back and finishing it out. Also, I've seen on YouTube some videos of her at these cons where she basically, tired as fuck, wants to go home, but she is there for the fans, and she finishes out signing autographs and speaking to every single person in line. She does not just cut it off. She extends it until every person has come through and has gotten what they wanted to get from her. Whether it was, to say hi, get an autograph, get a picture, or whatnot. She's that type of person. She's there for her fans, and that's greatly appreciated.
That's cool. Also, from what I hear, she's coming back to another of her old characters in Freaky Friday. I think it's going to be Freaky Friday 2.
I think it's called Freakier Friday.
Freakier Friday, yeah.
Yeah, her and Lindsay Lohan are reprising their roles, which is super cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was a fun movie to begin with, and then now to have a sequel. I really can't wait to see what we have in store for it.
All these years later, almost what is it? Almost 20 years later?
Yeah,
more.
Yeah, and
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's a pretty well-rounded actress.
Yeah.
She's got Knives Out. I don't know if you guys know
Yeah.
that one. And then that one crazy movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So yeah, that movie itself was like,
She was funny in that one.
yeah, she was super funny, and she did such a good role in that. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like everything that she touches is just great. And she was on the TV series called Scream Queens.
Oh yeah.
Which was super cool. Definitely a little play on herself and the girls of horror. So, but yeah, my number one, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, there's no way to beat that. So instead of trying to, I'm just gonna bring it back the other way, and I'm gonna choose for my number one a more contemporary actress, Mia Goth.
Oh, nice.
For me, I've fallen in love with her work. For my money, and for everybody's money, I suppose, a very successful career as a horror actress, and I don't know if I would induct her just yet as a Scream Queen, but she's certainly making strides towards that. And yeah,
especially with this, which we'll be talking about her later. In Maxine, but with the trilogy, the Ty West trilogy that she just did.
Yeah, the whole trilogy. She was super cool in Infinity Pool. Yeah, I've been loving her so much the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's funny to just see her come from. It was like a sex movie that she did with like Shia LaBeouf. That's where she met him. Who she's also. They were
married, right? Or
they were married. They got divorced, but they're now back together.
Ah.
They have a kid together. But there was this movie that she did. It's a 2-part movie, but it's like basically all about like sex and like the wantings of like what you need like sexually, and I just can't fucking think of what it's called. But like that's where I got my first introduction to her. She was kind of like a character in that movie, not the star, but just a random character, and then all of a sudden to see her like in this trilogy, making a name for herself, actually like being the star of these movies.
Yeah. Without her, this trilogy, and yeah, like you said, we'll talk about it, but like it's become very important that she's in these movies. Like these movies depend on her as a protagonist so much.
Nymphomaniac. That's volumes 1 and 2.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So
I haven't seen him, but I've heard about him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I saw her. That's where the first time I ever like saw anything about her, and it's got an actual good array of people in it. So it's got a pretty good cast, which is crazy how these people just like attach themselves to this type of movie. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and I didn't know she was half Brazilian. She's got this super long name.
Yeah.
Mia Gypsy Melo da Silva Goth. So
yeah, she's got like all this type of ancestry inside of her. But she speaks British.
Portuguese. I've seen interviews where she speaks Portuguese, and yeah, really cool. So she's my number one in the actresses.
Another British person with and she's more like a hick.
Right.
She's got the hick accent in these.
She does
these
really
movies.
well with those accents.
All right, cool. Well, that's our Mount Rushmore. If you guys agree with it, let us know. If you guys feel different, put it in the comments. We'll start with Arcadian. So Arcadian is a horror action movie. This movie stars Nicolas Cage, Sadie Soverall, Jaden Martell, and Maxwell Jenkins, who are the main stars of the movie. And I went into this completely blind, not knowing a single thing about this movie.
Same.
And I was kind of like thrown for a loop on what the monsters were. At first I thought it was like werewolves, but
yeah, they look like deformed bears or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like they have like it seems like they eat bugs because like they had one that they were dissecting and it was just full of bugs, which was just gross and
the creatures were really well made. I'll say that.
Yeah, but it was weird too because the way its jaw, it's like it had like this really fast snapping jaw, which reminded me of like the Langoliers of Stephen King, like in that TV movie that they did.
Yeah. Yeah, also they come out of the ground, so it also reminded me of like Tremors or something like that.
Yeah, they burrow themselves into the ground and then they come out that way. But they only come out at night too because the light hurts them.
True,
So,
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, so you're able to do whatever you need to do during the day. So this basically movie is a post-apocalyptic movie, and I guess whatever happened during the war, I want to say, ruined society, ruined the atmosphere, and people were like just basically secluded where they couldn't go outside and breathe. The water wasn't good to drink, and it created these creatures, I'm assuming, is what we're led to believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, these things are just really fucking just weird, just creatures. Just I wanted them to be werewolves, but
yeah, they were just monsters. The thing is, they didn't never explain. Like the first scene you see is Nicolas Cage somehow de-aged a little bit, although it was very apparent that. But he's supposed to be younger, and he's just running through like basically what I thought was like a war zone, and it wasn't clear to me whether it was just humans fighting humans, like some sort of World War III type situation, or if it was the creatures. Because later on you learn about the creatures, and it's like, okay, so at the beginning was the creatures, were they the cause of the whatever end of the world or whatever? But anyway, we see him running, and he reaches this facility or something, and he finds 2 babies. And later on, we see him like 10 years later or 15 years later or something like that. And it's the 2 characters, Joseph and Thomas, played by, like you said, Jaden Martell and Maxwell Jenkins. But yeah, they didn't. A lot of things were really loose, and they played really loosey-goosey with the concepts and very vague. It was throwing me off the entire movie, not knowing what the hell was going on, really.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he was running through an alley or if he was running through like a water.
Yeah, like an aqueduct of some sort.
Yeah, aqueduct. But yeah, you could see like the fence on the other side of the aqueduct. Let's just call it that. And then you could see like the guard towers, and you can hear the gunfire and the bombs and shit going off in the background of him running. And yeah, I was on the fence of like, did he find these children, or were these his children?
Right.
Like, did he leave them to go get supplies?
Explained.
Yeah, nothing is explained, and it never did get explained.
No.
Are these his actual children, or did he just find these babies and then decide, I'm gonna be your dad?
Yeah. He's not the stepdad. He's the dad that stepped up. But yeah, and there's all these like contemplative scenes. A lot of them seemed improvised to me. Like it was just like the director just sort of went, okay, you're the dad, and you're teaching them how to drive this little golf cart, and it was kind of interesting, like the way they position the camera, and it's like it's come on more like a GoPro, like they're filming with GoPro or something.
Oh man, the first that scene where he's running through the aqueduct, like, and then the camera is running with him, and it's just bouncing up and down. I was like, oh
shaky
my
cam.
God. I was like, I do not
I hate shaky cam.
that this movie is like this.
Yeah, I know.
And then when it finally like got more of a still camera,
it becomes a movie.
Yeah, it becomes a movie. I was just like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
Yeah, I was like ready to turn it off at that point. I was like, no, I'm not watching this like this.
Yeah, but the plot line, I mean, you pretty much already described the movie. It was just, a survival movie. It's the dad, it's his kids. Then we get introduced to these other characters. Sadie Soverell has got like, her name's Charlotte, and in the movie she's got like a thing going on with the kid Thomas. Yeah,
so okay, there's this other family on a farm, the Rose family, or they call it the Rose Farm, and then Paul, who's Nicolas Cage's character, his 2 boys, he has them, help him around the house, do chores, and they do things around. I guess every day, Thomas does whatever he needs to do, and then he bails on his family to go to the Rose farm because he wants to help them with whatever it is that they need help with. But really, he's there to hang out with Charlotte.
Yeah, he's there for the girl.
Yeah, obviously. But we don't know that. His brother doesn't know that. His dad doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Because he's not forthcoming with that information. I'm sure that if he was to say that, his dad would be like, no, fuck that. You're going to get yourself killed.
Right.
So Joseph, I don't know which one's older and which one's younger. So Joseph is really intelligent and is a builder and reads a lot of books and has put together this kind of golf cart, razor, I guess, like one of those type of vehicles that you would see like out in Arizona or something like that people just drive around on their property. And anyways, so he puts one of those together, gets it running. The dad tells both the boys to go down and do some salvaging. So halfway there, Thomas and Joseph, have some words, and Joseph's like, I don't need your help. And then Thomas is like, great, deuce, and takes off to the Rose farm. It says, I'll meet you back here. Thomas goes and, tries to do his thing, but it doesn't seem to work out for him because he kind of gets inundated with some bugs on this wreck that he's trying to salvage from. And so he's like, fuck it, I'm done, I'm out. And then he comes back, and Thomas is nowhere to be found. So he's at the end of his work day, or hanging out, or whatever it is that he was, went there to do. Obviously was to hang out with Charlotte. Bails and needs to run back to meet up with Joseph. But as he's going, there's this boundary line, which is like a crack in the earth. At least that's what I think what they're calling the boundary line. So the dad doesn't want them going, past the boundary line, and they have to be back before the sun sets because of these monsters. And so he's running back, slips, falls into that crack in the ground. Joseph waits and waits and says, I gotta go. Goes back. His dad comes out and says, where's Thomas? And he's like, he's not here. All right, you need to make sure you go inside and, buckle down the house, and then I'm gonna go look for him, and we'll be back in the morning. And dad goes out looking for him.
Yeah, it's especially dangerous, right? Because it's at night, and you learn that at night the creatures come out and all that.
Yeah, because you learn before all this that went down, you actually get to spend a night with them and hear what's going on, and these things try to break through the door, and then you find out the next morning that they scratch the shit out of the door trying to break into it. Yeah. Joseph is basically timed their interaction with the door, basically saying, the first couple times that they tried to hit the door was like a test. The second time that they tried to do was them actually trying to break in. And then the last time, basically, just frustration. You learn that they're testing the house, seeing, where the weak spots are at, how they can get in. Moving on to where the dad's out trying to find Thomas. And Joseph's in the house, got us all locked down, and you see him, he's passed out in a chair, or at least it looks like he's passed out in a chair, and the thing figures out how to open up one of the little slide doors or peepholes or something like that, and then gets its hand in there, and you can see it's so fucking weird because it extends. It unlocks itself, and then it unfolds. It's like this arm that's folded up like a transformer.
Okay.
So it unfolds and unfolds and unfolds, and then its fingernail grows super long, and it's trying to get to him.
That was probably the most effective scene for me. That was the creepiest part of the movie for me. I really enjoyed that scene, but it was all a subterfuge, right? Because
that was kind of the scene where I figured out these aren't werewolves.
Yeah,
it's something more.
Someone else, yeah.
And then thing retracts itself back in, and then unlatches, reaches in and figures out I can unlock the door. So it unlocks the door and comes in, and then he I don't know if he wakes up, but he just opens his eyes and pulls this rope and says, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
And a trap falls on it.
It's all a trap, yeah. So it traps the creature and then starts opening it up. That's the scene that you're talking about, right, with the bugs and all that.
Yeah, that's afterwards because once the dad goes to rescue the brother, finds him in the crack, and then they have to survive the night of these things trying to get to them. So he ends up using something to basically make a bomb and blows him up, hurts himself in the process. In the morning, Joseph gets on that vehicle and goes to find them, finds the dog, and then further up sees Thomas with the dad, and the dad's basically out. like incapacitated. And then he explains to him like what happened when they were back at the house. He's talking to him about the monster, finally figures out what's in the cage, and then he's like, oh, I've killed him. I killed a bunch of them. He's like, I can kill this one. So then they're like, okay, I guess. But then he was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then like doesn't break out, but they open the door and it lets it out. And because there's light in the room, that it like goes and hides in the corner in the dark. The dog comes in and antagonizes it, and then it jumps at them, and then they somehow wrangle it down, and then they fucking just kill it. Just like smash its head or cut its head off or something like that. And then then they like he takes it out to the garage, and like that's when he's dissecting it, and then you see like all the bugs and stuff in it, and he's like pulling the guts out and like weighing it, like doing an actual like autopsy on the thing, because he said he wanted to study it.
Practical effects on this scene, right? Like it's all goo and stuff like that they made, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything CGI that I saw, or at least that I could tell was CGI. Everything looked like it was pretty practical.
Yeah. They might have rotoscoped a little bit of the creatures at some point, but probably no more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the creatures were very effective. What happens after the dissection?
I'm not exactly sure what happens right after the dissection, but I know that they decide that they need to go to the Rose farm and take the dad to get medicine, and then to get help, and they also asked to stay there. Mr. and Mrs. Rose basically, tell them no. Like they said, oh well, Thomas, you can stay, but they can't afford to spare any medicine, and they don't have any of the extra room. Although Charlotte says we've got plenty of room. They get turned away, and then like Thomas and Joseph have a fight. Joseph's like, I don't need you, I'll do it myself. Mrs. Rose is basically like trying to tell him like, oh well, it's just better this way for you. You'll have more food and medicine at your place, just for the two of you. Yeah, so then Thomas like decides just to stay, and then him and Charlotte are up in the room like talking, and then they get into this like part where they're just kissing. Because they obviously have feelings for each other, and the dad walks in and then like catches them.
Mad.
Yeah, he gets mad and like separates them, and then so like later.
What did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah,
Dad.
And then later on, like
there's nobody else in this world.
Yeah, like if it wasn't one of your hands here at the ranch, then it was gonna be some other kid on the outside.
Yeah.
But so Thomas,
that was funny to me, but
yeah, Thomas is like snooping around looking for medicine and stuff like that, and he like convinces Charlotte to give him medicine so that way he can get back to the house to get his dad better. On his way out, after like she finally gives in and gives him like the bottle of pills, one of the ranch hands like stops him, accuses him of stealing, and then basically takes him into the barn and then like ties him up, and then it was gonna look like he was gonna blow his feet off so he couldn't run away.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was crazy. Like, but at that point, the creatures have figured out how to get up inside of these places. But it was also addressed earlier in the film that these things haven't attacked or even made their way over to the Rose farm. So not sure what brought them or brought the attention for them to go there. That's where they make their way to. And
because they come out of the ground, so they were just burrowing, maybe tunnels or something. Yeah, like I said, a lot of things don't get explained, but yeah, we get to the part where the monsters are just coming out of the ground and they start their carnage.
Yeah. So basically, like, they destroy that house. They kill pretty much everybody. Charlotte and Thomas make their escape and make it back to the other house.
So they're the only survivors, right?
Joseph finds that the things have burrowed through their house, through the floorboard. So he's like put a bunch of debris and stuff, cabinets and things like that in the hole to at least keep them at bay for the time being. And then they devise a plan to trap them in the house, or at least to try and blow them up in the house. That's pretty much how the movie goes. They're successful on that, but like there's no real like win for them because they basically lost both houses. So now they've got to move on. And
both parents are dead.
Yeah,
Paul is dead.
Both sets of parents are dead. They know of other farms that are off, so they just don't know if the creatures have made it to those farms yet. So they decide that all three of them are gonna trek on out to those farms
in their little golf cart.
Yeah.
They're going to make the dog run. They don't put him in the golf cart. That was weird to me. It was just like, hey, let's go, boy. And he's just like, ah.
Yeah, the dog's been running the entire movie. Poor dog.
And, and that was it. They just sort of ride off into the sunset, right? After everybody dies.
Still no explanation about these monsters or anything like that. So.
Or, like, where are they going? Is there monsters where they're going? Like, I don't know. Is that the end of the movie? How can that be? Okay.
Yeah, she, like, makes some kind of comment that, like, makes kind of Joseph happy, or like, it's like snarky, and he's just like, oh yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, they try to make it like
oh, okay, it's okay now that you have a girl, that's fine.
Yeah, like greener pastures, or like it's gonna get better later on, but it doesn't get explained how.
Yeah, it was a little weird, but I watched it from start to finish. Like I said, I was a little iffy on that whole shaky cam thing in the beginning, but the rest of the movie itself, I thought was pretty interesting. I was pretty disappointed they weren't werewolves, but
yeah. So how'd you like it? What do you give it?
I would say 3 stabs.
3 stabs?
Yeah, because I think as a monster movie, it was run of the mill. I've seen this movie before, Tremors, where they come up from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, these things weren't snake, but it was kind of lackluster to me. It was There wasn't really jump scares to it, which I'm not a fan of jump scares, but the overall horror element of it was just not there for me.
Yeah, the stakes were really low, weren't they? Like,
I would say it's more post-apocalyptic than it is horror.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, but even in the post-apocalyptic genre, they're minimal in their explanation of what's going on in the post-apocalypse or the apocalypse.
Yeah, you kind of had to figure things out yourself. It's like they don't explain anything, so that's.
So you said 3 stabs?
Yeah, 3 stabs.
I'm giving it 2, only because a lot of threads are left hanging, and they never revisit. There's like this one part where I've been forgotten. They talked about something that seemed important to me, and I was like, okay, cool. What are we gonna do with this? And they never come back to it, and now I've forgotten what it is. Like, I should have written it down so I could at least shit on it properly. But
yeah, that's another thing, is like I've talked about that in past podcasts, where I don't want to watch a movie where I really have to like think or have to like take notes.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to do that.
Right. Nick Cage was good, as he always is. He was also very kind of minimal, but I think it's only because he really understands the movie. Tries not to, or he's successful at not taking protagonism away from the plot and the rest of the actors. So he just does like you kind of just, I wouldn't say phone it in, because he did a good job, as he always does. But even with Nick Cage in it, and I wasn't able to salvage too much from that movie. It became vague and derivative for me in the end. So that's why the 2 stabs.
Well, that's Arcadian. If you guys feel different, let us know in the comments. All right, next on our list here is Tarot. So this one, actually just watched it today for this podcast.
Yep.
I fell asleep last night trying to watch it. Shame on me, but this movie has quite a few unknowns. The only person that I do know is Jacob Bantalone, which you know him from the Spider-Man Marvel Universe Sony collaboration, where he plays Ned, Peter Parker's friend. This one, he's actually has his head shaved, which I'm guessing is a relatively new thing, but I've also seen him in recent pictures where he's lost a shit ton of weight because he was a little bit heavy set as an actor. And yeah, it looks like maybe he got that gastric bypass or something like that, or just went on some crazy exercise regimen and just lost all the weight. Yeah, like I said, he's the only one I know. It's got Vendika Vanderpoo, Larson Thompson, Umberly Gonzalez, Harriet Slater. I'm guessing that's the chick from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The 2022, the one that plays Marilyn Burns' character.
Yeah.
From the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, yeah.
Yeah. There's Ollin, something French, like Ferrari. I'm sorry if I butcher your name. Aidan Bradley, Wolfgang Novogratz, James Swanton, Sonsika Milanovic. She's the astrologer, who's actually the main villain of the movie. And then there's some other actors too, but I don't want to go into every single one. But those are pretty much all the main people. So this movie revolves around a group of friends that get together for one of the friends' birthdays, and they rent like this creepy mansion, kind of like an Airbnb. They go out and have a night, basically. They come across a deck of tarot cards, and one of the other characters knows how to do horoscope readings with tarot cards, and so she does that for the entire group. after that, basically, that's when things go awry, is when they get back to the dorms of the college that they're at. And things start going down.
Yeah, so the group starts dying off, right? Or getting killed?
Yeah. So the birthday girl, played by Larson Thompson, she is Elise. She's the first death in this. So what happened is that the Haley, who's Harriet Slater, gave all these readings to everybody, and everything that everybody's readings is different, because it's also off the astrology, so everybody's astrology seemed to be different to make a good movie. All the things that were revealed in the reading are coming true, and then the last card, which is could be like, you know, the death card, the devil card, hangman, and so on and so forth. These cards seem to be coming to life, killing off these characters one by one. And like I said, it starts off with the birthday girl. She's the first person to get killed, and then when the group finds out about it, because it just seems like it's fairly quick, as soon as she gets killed, like the news media has already put it out there on blast, and they find out like, oh shit, who would have killed her and why did she die? One of the other characters, Lucas, who's played by Wolfgang Novogratz, I guess that's how you pronounce his last name. He's walking home. Is it Humberly or Umberly?
Yeah, Humberly Gonzalez.
Humberly. So she's Madeline. So he's walking her home, and he takes the shortcut through the subway, and he ends up getting killed in the subway. And they find this out, and like are really just panicked. They basically decide that they need to figure out what's happening. The police don't know anything, and they're not a big help. And so they enlist the help of another reader, which is played by Ollin Fury, I guess is how you pronounce her name. She plays Alma. So she kind of gives them the rundown of what's happening and what needs to happen and what they need to do. But she was also hesitant at first to talk to them, because she's everything that was read about her online was basically saying that she was discredited because, you know, everybody thinks that she's a whack job or something like that. But they see her anyways, they talk to her, they get some information from her, stuff that they think is helpful and hopeful. So now they have to make their way back to this Airbnb place to get the box with these tarot cards that are in it, because basically she says that they need to be destroyed because you guys are cursed. And because you're cursed, you have to destroy, you know, what started the curse. So on their way back, their car, like, just all of a sudden breaks down. Humberly's character gets killed.
Is she the one that gets hanged?
Yeah.
She gets the hangman, right?
Yeah, she gets the hangman.
Because each one receives, like, after the reading, a last card. And each card, like you said, becomes real or comes to life. And that's what chases them down and kills them. So if she gets the hangman, she's going to die by hanging. And so forth and so on, yeah.
Yeah. Jacob's character, he plays Paxton. In his reading, he was told that he was going to be stubborn and basically, like, disavow himself from the group and some other stuff, too, that basically came to fruition with him being trapped in an elevator, because it said that something about being confined spaces, and then with ascending numbers. And then he, like, put 2 and 2 together when he was in the elevator, and he's like, oh shit. And then he sees the Fool, which is his card, outside, and that's what he's running from when he gets in the elevator. And then when he gets to his floor, Fool's on the floor, and it's basically just playing games with him. He gets done in on the elevator. You don't really see him get done in, but you see the Fool, like, the last thing, its face, like, kind of a jump scare of it, like, you know, coming down at him. So then that leaves Haley, Paige, who's Anvitika Vandenapu, Paige, Aiden Bradley, Grant. So it leaves those 3 characters. And they make it to the house, they get the car, they get the tarot deck, throw it in the fire, see that it's not burning, and then they call Alma because they said that they need help. She comes to the house, sets up another ritual circle to try and see if she can talk to the spirit, the astrologer. Basically, she gets the astrologer's attention, but then she gets done in because the astrologer, like, reads her for her horoscope through the tarot cards. Because when she was younger, she did a reading with her friends with the same deck of cards, and this was in the warning that she gave the group is that she said through the years this deck of cards has, you know, done damage to a lot of people who've had their readings done to it, and basically has killed them. But yeah, she gets hers read, and then that's her card is the Four Swords, and so she gets done in by Four Swords to the back. Paige's character, her card is the Magician, so she gets done in by the Magician, basically being sawed in half through like a live magic show. Grant's was the Devil. He was being pulled in all directions because that was part of his reading. I'm not sure exactly how he got away, but he ended up getting away. And Haley's is Death. And her prediction was that love is what's going to kill her. But Grant ends up saving Haley. She ends up figuring out if she does a reading on the astrologer herself, that it will reverse everything. And so that's what she does, is that she finally is able to do a reading on the astrologer, and as she has her basically in her clutches, getting ready to kill her, like everything basically starts to reverse on her and then lets her go. And then Grant just shows up out of the blue and just pulls her out of the fucking whirlwind of bullshit that, you know, that's killing the astrologer.
Yeah.
Which is, like I said, I don't know how he got away. That's never explained. And then once, you know, she disappears and everything seems like it's okay, they're walking out of that Airbnb place and walking down the road, which was another reading of his, saying that he's going to be walking down a dark path. And then they see a car come up, and then you see the car slowly creeping up and stop. And then you're just like, oh, what the fuck now? Paxton, Jacob Bantalone's character, gets out. And then so you realize that he didn't die. That's, I guess, where the comedy, like the comedic relief comes in, because he starts talking about how he got saved by his roommate. So in the elevator, like his roommate opened the elevator door and it made the fool disappear. So it didn't end up killing him.
Yeah.
It was a weird movie overall.
When you mentioned that it was giving you Final Destination vibes, yeah, I totally see it.
Yeah. So as each person's being picked off, it totally gave me that Final Destination, like how Death is trying to find each one of these people that cheated him. It's something similar to that, kind of like what's happening here with the tarot cards. Like each of the final cards, like we said earlier, comes to life and is looking for these individuals that the reading was given to. Yeah,
pretty straightforward movie. Very not hard to follow. I think it was made for a younger audience. So a couple of Google searches gave me two things. One is based on a novel written in 1992, which back in 1992 I was 12. So if I would have read this novel back when I was 12, I think I would have liked it, because it sounds to me like it's a YA sort of novel, and I think the movie is also very much for like a younger audience.
That's crazy.
In that way. The novel is called Horoscope by Nicholas Adams. If you're interested, it's $51.56 on Amazon.
I think I was a freshman in high school that year.
Yeah. So I might abide with it way back then, but not so much. I don't think I would pay $50 for it. But anyway, there it is. Horoscope by Nicholas Adams, which I'll say the Horoscope would have been a way better title than Tarot. I realize. I'm
sure reading the book too, it's probably a lot better than the movie. Most
things.
Most things that are written like that. Usually the novels are a lot better.
The source material is almost always better. But another thing that stood out to me is the design for like the tarot cards. So I started looking to see who did the art design for it. Is this guy named Trevor Henderson. And he does like just on Google Images. He's got like a bunch of like creepy, just like images. He does like creepy paintings. He's a creepy artist, basically.
Yeah, I like his art. His art's pretty cool.
It's super cool, man. I'm a fan. Yeah, it's super creepy. Some of it's cartoony. It's like, it reminds me of like 50s cartoons, like maybe like Felix the Cat or something, but horrified, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So it's Trevor Henderson, and he did the design for all the tarot characters. And we got here the Fool. We have the, what is he, the Ferryman?
Yeah, well, I don't know if is he called the Ferryman?
No, I think they call him he's really cool looking. I don't know what they call this one guy, but
because the guy with you're calling the Ferryman, he has the lantern, and he's the one who kills what's his face on the subway.
Yeah.
And then there's some like witch-like creature that kills the birthday girl.
That design was really cool with the crown of thorns and stuff. Like she looked good.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. Is like the way they described the tarot cards is that looked like they were all hand painted, not like actual like reproduction cards, but like they were High Priestess. That's who she was. So the High Priestess was the first kill.
The Hermit is what they're calling. What I call the ferryman. It's not a ferryman. It's the Hermit.
Yeah, the Hermit was the second kill.
The Hangman.
Hangman was the third kill.
Like the sharp teeth and dead face. Super cool looking. Then there's the Fool, obviously. That one was cool. I liked how like his face changes and flickers and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. That was really well done. The Magician, not as creepy, but his scene, the kill with the Magician, I think was for me the most effective one. Pretty gory and just the for me personally, the sense of like being trapped and being tortured and not being able to free myself. It's always
yeah, because it looked like she was put into a trunk, and then the trunk had like some kind of crank on the outside, and so when he was done fucking around, because he was taking the saw and just shoving it inside the trunk and like multiple areas and like not hitting her because there was like so much space in there, and then he decides to crank on the little like the turn knob of the crank, and like the whole entire trunk shrinks down, and all of a sudden she's laying flat, and it's like a box. It's like the magician's box where they saw you in half.
Yeah.
And then that's what he does.
Right.
It's like
she actually gets sawed in half.
Yeah. So it turns into like it goes from like his actual trunk to the box that you get sawed in half in. And it was like obviously it's all magic, the magician.
Yeah. That one was good. And then you got Death and the Devil, who you don't really see them. They don't really appear.
The Devil does, but it's like multiple entities because they grab what's his face.
And he's
Grant
being pulled one way or the other.
Yeah, because that was part of his reading was, be careful, you're going to be pulled, in multiple directions and stuff like that. So they're basically multiple devils are like grabbing him and like dragging him around and trying to pull him, basically almost doing like a drawn and quarter, like they got each of his limbs and they're just pulling on him. Like I said, I don't know how he got away. Unless he's just that strong, and then he fucking pulled away from them. And then Death was like following Haley's character Haley around, and then it just turned into the astrologer because like she started doing the reverse reading and then like reading, calling her out on it, and so she transformed from like Death back to herself. Yeah.
So super cool art design on part of Trevor Henderson. There, my favorite was the Fool and the High Priestess. They look the coolest to me. They're super, super cool.
Yeah, this definitely, like you said, was done for a younger crowd. Also for people who like jump scares, because it's had a lot of jump scare stuff.
Yeah, heavy relying on jump scares. I think it was. I know the jump scares looked to me that were filmed for like a 3D showing of the movie.
Maybe
a lot of the jump scares are like
right there in your face
because they jump out of the screen at you.
Yeah. Yeah, like they looked obvious, like with the hangman, like he's basically looking down through the rafters of the bridge, and like he goes from like being a distance away to like his face coming straight down at you. Like same thing too with the High Priestess. Like there was the girl had the tarot card in front of her face, and as soon as she put the tarot, like you knew it was coming. As soon as she was bringing the tarot card down, the High Priestess's face was right there and did the scream, and so
a little like really fast vertigo shots, for the jump scares, which classic, and some of them were effective, and I think I don't know on a 3D viewing it might have been a little bit more effective viewing. Trevor Henderson was that's the more, to me the visuals were really the appeal of the movie. The plot, not so much. It did its job as far as that's concerned. I feel like I'm not going to call it a cash grab, but it was definitely a small budget formulated to just do well enough in the box office to just make their money back.
Yeah, I mean, the formula too, like towards at the end is like they should have had some kind of like open-endedness to it. Yeah. Because it literally seems like this is a one and done movie.
Yeah. I mean,
because like the characters are getting ready to drive off into the sunset at the very end, and it's like, oh, we defeated the big bad, and and now we're gonna go live our lives. Sucks our friends died, but
with complete disregard that everybody else died. It's like,
except for the one guy who was the comic relief, and they're like, oh, you're still alive?
Yeah.
Everything is so much better now.
The whole switcheroo at the end. I don't know. And then to me, some of the characters that they're supposed to be college kids, right?
Yeah.
To me, some of them just look like they're in their 30s. And like I call it the like the 90210 syndrome, where like they're supposed to be in college, but like they're all like almost nearing their mid 30s, you know. Also, or like if you remember an actor from like maybe 20 years ago, Tom Green, who was like perpetually like the college guy, but he'd been in college for like 20 semesters or some fucking crazy shit like that. It reminded me of like those kind of characters.
That's
so
funny.
It's kind of weird that, you know, they're in college, but like some of them look older than that. But yeah, the special effects were good. Visually, like I said, I really like the look of the movie. The ambience, they play a lot with like the light on dark, like the darkness in the movie. I think was really yeah. The technical side of the movie is you know, on point. They're not doing anything new. They're not reinventing anything, but they did it accurately. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the plot was. I didn't care too much for these characters. I was like, oh, they're dead. Whatever, you know.
Yeah, I wasn't really invested in any of them at all.
Yeah, and the I don't know that the comedic relief was as effective as they maybe thought it was.
The other thing that made me think of, like on top of the Final Destination feel, bodies.
Oh, yeah.
It had a very bodies feel to it.
Well, yeah,
because at the end of the movie, they're just kind of like, oh well,
yeah, because like
shit happened.
Yeah, because they're drinking and like, you know, they're just doing things because we're gonna get drunk, and it's like a weird image of what corporate Hollywood tells us college kids are supposed to be like, you know, which like I don't know, like. Maybe I hung out with the wrong type of people, but I was pretty young when I first had a drink, and when I was exposed to like drugs and alcohol, like I was maybe like 12 or 13. I didn't have to wait till college to know what a drop of alcohol was. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was I think 16. No, I wasn't 16. I was 18. Yeah, because I didn't really go out and party as much. But it was when I started driving, and I started driving at 18. And a buddy of mine, he was already over 21. He would buy us alcohol, and we would all go drinking and just have like these crazy fun times. In fact, we just sending some messages back and forth, and I told him how I missed our drunken debauchery. Like, oh, to be young again. Yeah, it was a cool little thing to think back on. But then also at the same time, like how stupid it was, like because things could have went severely wrong at any point of those moments.
Yeah, but in the end, I mean, I don't know. I think Terror just became like another one of these movies that try to copy Final Destination but failed. You know, Polaroid comes to mind, or Truth or Dare, those type of movies that follow the same sort of formula, but did not manage to do it better than Final Destination, the original, and even some of the sequels. Like I really like the third one, the third installment of the Final Fantasy. Final Destination. Now my gamer brain came out. Final Destination. But yeah, they tried and failed, and just add this one to the pile, you know.
Yeah, to me it was very middle of the road again. So if I was to, I am going to rate this. My rating for it would be just I want to say 3 stabs.
Yeah.
My brain's telling me to go lower, but I don't want to be a dick. I'll just keep it at 3 stabs.
All right,
just like I said, just run in the middle, like right in the middle.
I'll be the bad guy in this one. I'll be the villain. I'm giving it 1.5.
Wow, that's really low.
It didn't vibe with me, honestly.
So you thought this was worse than Arcadian?
Oh man, yeah. I didn't think about that. Cause, all right, man. Now I'm gonna have to walk it back. Because visually, this one is better than Arcadian. I did like the visual. Like I said, I really like the art department, what they did with the creatures. Okay.
Yeah, like you said, on a technical side, I think it's fucking 4.5 stabs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but
okay.
Overall movie, like to me, it's just 3.
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't vibe with the cast or the story, but yeah, the technical side. Okay, I'll bring it back up to 2 stabs.
Okay. All right. If you guys have any differences on what you thought about the movie, let us know in the comments. That's Taro. Next on the list here is the end of the Ty West trilogy, a little ditty called Maxine.
Yeah, I think one of the most anticipated ones, at least by me.
Yeah, me too. I would definitely want to see how he was going to wrap up this trilogy.
I think it reflects the anticipation, the fact that the movie, as I saw it online, made the most money out of all the three other movies. And I think the way it built up the trilogy did after Pearl and announcing Maxine, I think people went, yeah, we need to watch this movie. So
I'm sure with that, because the studios probably saw that and gave them a bigger budget.
Yeah,
I'm sure every movie was
that too.
And then the next movie was bigger budget. The next movie is bigger budget.
Yeah. This one pretty much closes out the what are we calling it? Is it the X trilogy or?
I mean, that's what I would call it, but it's
Ty West trilogy. Or?
Yeah, but X was just the movie, and then there's Pearl, the prequel, and then it jumps back to Maxine, which is the direct sequel to X.
Yeah. So from what I heard, Pearl was already made by the time X was being released, right? And at some point, from what I read, Pearl was actually supposed to be, like the movies were supposed to be released in chronological order. Pearl was supposed to be first. But then they made it X, then a prequel, then a sequel, which is a weird pacing for, maybe not weird, but like it's definitely new, right? In the way of releasing entries to a trilogy, which I've also read, and I don't know if these are just rumors or what, but Ty West is thinking of making a fourth.
I mean, he basically did Star Wars, but only with 3 movies instead of 9.
Yeah.
He hit X is his New Hope,
Right.
Empire, and Jedi, and then Pearl is the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And then Maxine is the other 3 shithole Disney fucks movies that came out that nobody really likes. Although they're still Star Wars movies, but no one could give a crap about, because obviously they couldn't get anybody on the same fucking page.
Yeah. That was something else. It's closing out the trilogy. I'll say right off the bat, my least favorite of the 3.
Mine too.
I'm still a fan of the first one. The first one for me was perfect slasher movie, and I think another thing about this trilogy, each movie, if you expect like a slasher just like X, I wouldn't call Pearl a slasher. It's different. It has killings in it and stuff, but I wouldn't call it a slasher necessarily. X is a slasher, and it's a really fresh take on a slasher genre. And Maxine is definitely none of those things. 'Cause each one is different, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what I think I would call Pearl.
It's like a period piece, but with, I mean, it still falls in the genre of horror, right? 'Cause
yeah, it's still a horror movie because she kills in it, but she's more of a serial killer than a slasher.
Yeah.
Like, as we're like X, Pearl in that movie was the slasher.
Yeah.
So she was she was the Michael Myers and Jason and Leatherface and
the
so on and
ambience
so
was very
forth.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre because of the whole, we're in the rural area of middle America somewhere, right?
Yeah, and then Pearl was like, she's just a serial killer or like a fucking some kind of like psychopath. She got off on killing. Yeah, is what it seemed like.
Right.
So then Maxine to me was like a cult movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Had a very,
the whole satanic panic thing.
Yeah, it had a very cult thing, and then they tried to use Richard Ramirez because it was during his time.
1985,
Yeah, in L.A. So they're basically infringing onto that, and then that's a lot of things where you think that he's the killer, or they're trying to make it believe that he's the killer.
Yeah, at some point I thought Maxine was going to have some sort of showdown or something with Ricky Ramirez, but I'm glad they didn't go that way. It was more of a red herring. He was just it was just like in the background.
He was in the background, so it was a lot of like filler, but it was good filler. It was good.
Yeah, because it puts
good
you
plot
in that
point.
time of in history, right? Of LA,
frame of reference.
Yeah, frame of reference. Very good. The most impactful, I guess, scene is the scene where she's. I I'll say the first half of the movie is my favorite. The second half is not that I didn't like it, but I really enjoy the very first half. And that scene where she's walking alone and she takes a wrong turn, and all of a sudden she's trapped in like this alley, and there's this creepy guy pretty much telling her that he is going to assault her and there's nothing she can do about it. And
then he has a knife in his hand.
He has a knife. And as the old adage goes, never bring a knife to a gunfight. Because she makes him, she pulls out her gun and makes him strip down and lay it down on the floor. And then she says something like, the last person who tried to kill me ended up with her head smashed in, or something like that. And then she proceeds to stomp on his balls, and just his scrotum just explodes. And like,
Jesus Christ.
As a man that will, if you're
That just turned my stomach just thinking about that, because when I watched it turned my stomach.
If you're the proud owner of a set of testicles, this scene will get to you. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably the most. The gore really works on this one. It's the only thing really that approximates the movie to a horror genre, right? Is the gore.
Yeah, I think
because the rest of it.
I think after that scene, the movie completely just went left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're just like, what happened?
Yeah, it becomes like a procedural at a certain point with like the buddy cops, the two detectives played by Michelle Monaghan and Bobby Cannavale, which you've seen these guys in all sorts of stuff. Very versatile actors. I feel like they were underutilized in this movie, and I don't know, they didn't give those characters enough time to breathe. And I realized that there's all these other moving pieces, and like you don't want to make this movie like longer than it needs to be or anything. But yeah, I feel like for the caliber of actors that Michelle and Bobby are, I feel like they were a little bit underutilized, but still it works. My favorite too.
Well, it seemed like they tried to use them, at least not so much her, but him, as comic relief.
Yeah, because his whole thing is like he was an aspiring actor. That's why he became a detective in Hollywood, and he always tries to do his job by delivering lines, and Michelle Monaghan is like, it's not working, dude. That's not. You're not playing a character. We need to do our jobs,
Yeah.
So yeah, he worked as a comedic relief, I guess.
Yeah, I thought another good character in the movie, Giancarlo Esposito.
He was my favorite.
Yeah. Just
between him and Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah, Kevin Bacon's PI.
His whole southern twang that he's doing, and like the accent that he's putting on, he does a really good job too.
Yeah, and then the FX artist Sophie Thatcher. I actually didn't recognize her, but she's one of those chicks from the Book of Boba Fett, the ones with the prosthetic pieces. Like there was like that gang.
Yeah, like the little Muppets.
Yeah, she was one of them.
Okay,
it was so weird.
Yeah,
because Michelle Monaghan, she's from whatchamacallit, the Tom Cruise shit, the Mission Impossible. And that's where she's pretty much well known from.
Yeah.
Also, she's Tom Brady's ex.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then Bobby Cannavale, he's been in quite a few things. Really good character actor. I remember him from a TV show called Third Watch. Pretty much the first time I ever saw him on anything. And then now he's like the stepdad on in the Ant-Man movies.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's been in so many other things too. But yeah,
so many things.
He's a very good character actor. Kevin Bacon's character in this was, like I said, was great. Giancarlo's character as Maxine's producer or agent. I'm sorry, not producer. His agent. Like he was outstanding.
He goes way above and beyond.
Yeah.
Than any. He must have really trusted in her stardom, because, man. Let's get into it. There's a scene where Kevin Bacon. First of all, he keeps chasing Maxine, and there's this one scene where Maxine just gets out of her car and beats the crap out of him with a bunch of keys in her fist, and then it culminates in them, Giancarlo Esposito saying, "I'm gonna take care of it. Don't worry about this guy. I'm your agent. That's what agents are for." That's his line, right? And they take him. They beat him up. They take him to one of these car.
Like junkyard.
That junkyard, yeah. And they put him in one of these car crushers, and they kill him. And it was probably my favorite scene or my favorite kill out of the whole movie. It was It was something. Also, the scene with Kevin Bacon, that weird chasing where he's chasing Maxine across
Oh, the
these
Paramount
sets,
lot.
the
Actually,
Paramount lot.
I guess it was it's on the Paramount lot because the way they have it set up. But I'm guessing they're trying to make it seem like it's Universal because there's sets where it looks like it's the Paramount lot, and then there's sets that looks like Universal, especially when they're at the Bates Motel because that's at Universal.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other sets that they're at that it totally looks like the Paramount lot, especially like the way that they drive in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's on the backside of Hollywood Forever.
Right.
So Paramount backs right up to the cemetery.
Oh, okay.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I totally recognized, especially the Bates Motel. When I was a kid, I had a yearly pass to Universal. So.
Oh man, never been.
Never been?
Never been.
Yo, you need to do it.
I live here in California. And never been.
Okay, yeah, you gotta do it. Take the family with you one of these days. It's super cool. The new Super Mario lot thing opened. So if your kid's a fan of Super Mario, he's gonna love that part. But you're gonna love the train ride, and it takes you through all of the old studios and the old lots and everything. So, and one of the stops is the Bates Motel.
Yeah. My son's been there quite a few times, and they've done the tram ride, and then he's gone into the actual like amusement area and stuff like that, and says it's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
My cousin actually was there the year that the whole back lot caught fire.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, where like King Kong is and all that stuff. It was,
Yeah.
like all burned down. Like
they had to replace everything.
I think he said that they were just leaving, and then like, as they're getting on the freeway, they see the fucking fire, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
So they were the last to actually experience that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad it happened after they went.
Right? Yeah, me too.
Because it would have been weird. Because like, is this part of the exhibition? Like,
I swear we already went through Backdraft.
Should we right? Should we be worried about this? Like, yeah.
Is this new?
That's crazy. That's a crazy story. But yeah, that was a cool scene. Kevin Bacon did a really good job, and Giancarlo Esposito. I think they were both my favorite ones. But then after that, we get to the part where like we realize that at the end, Mia Goth's crazy dad, right?
Yeah, her estranged dad says he finally found her, even though it wasn't hard to find, I'm sure. Like, but yeah, then you find out that he's like fucking, like you can see an X. Like, you don't know. I don't know if you know if it was him or not. But there, you kind of vaguely think about it. At least I did. The preacher that was on the TV talking about his daughter that was missing. I put two and two together and just said, "Oh, this must be him." You know, talking about his daughter, and he's probably like, you know, they're obviously in Texas or somewhere, like, and he's a good old boy, and got some TV time and decided to be preaching the word and stuff like that. And but yeah, then you find out that that is him, and he's been in this fucking cult, and that he wants to basically like run everything with her, like he wants to save her, and he's like filming it like it's gonna be this big evangelistical event.
Yeah.
With him like
with all his acolytes and everything.
Yeah. So like he's gonna fucking like pull the devil out of her, and because she's possessed, and
right, like some sort of like exorcism, he calls it, right?
Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, you get kind of spoilers of it in the movie X. He's the priest in the TV that you see throughout the movie, and like at the very end, I don't know if they reveal it necessarily as a spoiler that he's somehow involved with the disappearance of this little girl, and they show Maxine as a younger girl, and then at the beginning of Maxine, you see them recording young Maxine doing like a little number, and that number, if I remember correctly, is the same number, the same dancing number that Pearl dances in her failed audience in the movie Pearl. And
I did not realize that.
Yeah, I was looking at the moves and I was like, they're very familiar. It's probably the same routine. Which would make
very
sense,
cool. Yeah.
And yeah,
nice little tie-in.
Yeah, they tie it all together quite nicely. Yeah, but then we get at the end of that exorcism, I guess they would call it, it turns into a shootout with the police.
Yeah. So the two cops or the detectives were basically tailing her and saw her go to this fucking place and then made their way up and then basically ambushed the whole like exorcism that was happening. And then the whole shootout, then a chase, and then it just ends with her like fucking like killing the dad. And
yeah, they do the whole thing, that mantra that they always had, right? I will not, what is it? How does it go? I will not live a life I do not deserve, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual like.
It's the same thing that they say in the first movie X. I don't think Pearl ever says it because that's not her thing. It was their thing.
Yeah, definitely Maxine's.
Right after they do that, she blows up his head and.
But like before that, there's like this whole like elaborate like thing going on. Like you kind of see like foreshadowing of like what her life has become.
Oh right.
Like after she does this.
Yes.
But then it like goes back to real time. Like after she does kill him, like she's back on the set and stuff like that. And like the whole director's like, wow, that's crazy. All this shit that's gone down. But let's make a great movie.
Right. Yeah. The director and they do this weird thing where it's like a tribute to the previous lady who played, because she's in a movie called The Puritan or The Puritan 2, and the original actress.
They're making The Puritan 2.
Right, and the original Puritan actress had died by the hands of her dad, right? And they do like a little tribute to her, and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. It threw me off in the timeline, but I was like, okay. And then they end. The very end is because there's a scene with the girl you mentioned, Sophie Thatcher, the FX artist, where they're doing a bust of her head, right? And then so the at the end we see the final product of Mia Goth's or Maxine's severed or decapitated bust head.
Oh yeah, sitting on the bed. They're playing a song by we've all heard this song before. Kim Carnes, Betty Davis Eyes. There's a verse that says she's got. They mentioned like a couple of very famous actresses, Hollywood actresses. She's got Greta Garbo's standoff size. She's got Betty Davis eyes, and I guess that's significant at the end because at the beginning of the movie there's a quote by Betty Davis that's supposed to be I never heard it, but it's supposed to be a famous quote, and she says, "In this business, until you're known as a monster, you're not a star." So I think that's how they connect the beginning to the end. Yeah, I know I read that in the beginning of the movie, but I didn't know that was actually a famous quote from her.
Yeah.
Because I never heard it before. But I'd have to ask Vito. He's probably obviously heard of it since he's the cinephile, of Hollywood.
Yeah. So and then that's it. That's the end.
Yeah, had a lot of high hopes for it, and it was just, to me, it was very lackluster because the previous two movies had a lot of different like kills in it and the way they were set up, and this one was a lot less. It was more story oriented than it was horror movie oriented. Totally.
I mean, and Ty West is a good filmmaker,
I'm not discrediting him. It was still a fantastic movie, but I just thought for it being in this trilogy, I expected a little more.
I expected a lot more myself. But yeah, the whole 80s vibe, very well executed. Same as they did with X, it was the 70s. So
yeah. All his periods that he was trying to convey in each movie,
they really came across.
Excellent.
Yes. Yeah,
I felt like I was there in that time.
Yeah, totally. I feel like, did we mention this already? Yeah, we did it in one of the news podcasts where there was like a controversy of a guy that was suing Mia Goth because I don't know what. I forget what it was. She hurt him somehow. Stepped on him or something like that.
Oh yeah, one of the extras.
It must have been during the shootout scene. I don't know
where it was at, whether it was in that or if it was during one of the Puritan scenes. But yeah, it was something along the lines of like she was treating him bad or like was doing shit to him like while he was like being an extra, and so I was like, well, it's kind of weird sounding.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was actually true or if it's a cash grab on him. Like, I could sue this chick and she's got a big name now, and I'll get some money out of it because I'm just a fucking nobody. But it could have been true. I don't want to downsize it, and I don't want to fucking take away from him because I wasn't there, so I don't know. And I don't want to make it. I don't want to make light of the situation. It's fucked up if actors do that to extras and people trying to break into the business. But yeah, you just don't know. It's his word against her words. It's whoever was there. obviously would have to speak up on it. Nobody, to my knowledge, has.
Yeah,
unless they
probably
have and they're just keeping it quiet.
Water under the river at this point, I think. I feel like they made Maxine more likable this time around, so I think that was another like unexpected change. Because in the first movie, I know that she was a lot more brutal in the previous movie, but that's why I feel like.
Well, I think by the time it gets to this movie, she's a little more seasoned.
That's true, because she's saying
she's been through some shit.
Plus, she wants to encourage in like real Hollywood, because she's going like, hey, I'm turning 30 something, and that's pretty much the limit for the porn industry. But I want to keep acting, so yeah, a lot of that came into play. I feel like she had a lot more. She cared a lot more, I guess, about people, because she was really distraught when her friend from the VHS store gets killed, and that kind of it's kind of like an extra drive for her to like finish the job, as it were,
Yeah, that was I think the catalyst of her going and saying, "Fuck this! I need to do something about it."
Yeah,
because she was pretty distraught about her other friends when she figured out that they were being off, especially when she put 2 and 2 together and realized that they were all going to the same place up in the hills, and realized that that's the place that she needs to go to.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, with her friend from the VHS store, like totally, I think that was the nail in the coffin. That just was the final one.
So overall, I enjoyed the movie as I expected I would. What rating do you give it?
3.5 stabs.
3.5.
Yeah, because I expected more. I can't say it's 4 because it didn't have things I was looking for, and I wanted it to be. I guess I wanted it to be more like X and less story oriented, but maybe because he wants the character to evolve into something different, that's why it went the route it did. For me as a consumer and watching this trilogy and seeing where she was going, I was expecting her to be a little more hardened and crazy and
yeah
and maybe be like the person that they were fucking, maybe she was the killer and they were blaming Richard Ramirez for her shit.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I thought it was going to be going, and then I heard it was like she was the one that basically they were trying to get to, and they're definitely not what I thought it was.
Yeah, especially after Pearl, because of the story arc that Pearl has, where she just becomes completely more and more psychotic as the movie moves along. I think it set a higher bar to what Maxine would be, and instead we got like a character that's not so unhinged. She was a lot more methodical and everything else. Yeah, I also give it a 3.5. It does make me a little bit nervous about making a fourth entry, because I feel like if you were to continue with the Maxine character, or like what else are you going to do with it? I mean.
I think if they did a fourth one, the fourth one would have to be like what I said, where she like evolves into this like psychopath, where now she's like the one doing the killing, because
it would have to be something like that.
Her life's just been so crazy, and she can't just get the demons out of her head, and so then it just takes over her mentally. I mean, that's the only route that I could possibly see it going. Because if they continue on this path of Maxine, I just don't think it's going to be a likable movie.
Yeah, no, especially because they wouldn't be able to change like the characters or do something else that's not with Maxine, right? Or with Mia Goth. I feel like the trilogy itself, the movies and the trilogy overall, is very contingent upon Mia Goth being the protagonist.
Yeah.
So without Mia Goth, I don't see another movie.
Agreed.
But yeah, 3.5 because it's fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it was fun. It was above the average. I just wish it had a little more.
Yeah, me too.
All right, well, that was Maxine. Let us know what you guys thought of Maxine. Was it the middle of the road? Was it a little above, a little below? Did you like it better than Pearl or X? Or was it the worst of the 3? So just let us know. If you liked the music in the beginning and the end, which is our intro-outro, it's by a band named Zayo. You can find them at zayoonline.net, and their newest album is The Crimson Corridor, and they have several live events that they have recorded. Should be on the YouTube and also on their website. Check them out, Zayo. For all of our other stuff that pertains to the horror scene and Last Rites podcast, you can find it on our social medias at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. You can also listen to the podcast on YouTube, Rumble, and all podcasting platforms. You can also follow us on TikTok, where I do horror trivia, and I also post it on all the other social medias that I just had mentioned previously. And then any and other information about us, you can find it at the website at www.thehorrorscene.com. You have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, a couple of things that are coming up. Beetlejuice is coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm super hyped.
Yeah, it's actually
this one.
It's going to be right after your birthday, and it's actually coming out on my wife's birthday.
I was gonna say I got some tickets for a preview before showing, and it lands right on my birthday. So
that's cool. That's super cool.
I'm gonna be watching it on my birthday.
What a good birthday present!
It's gonna be super.
That's right. They made a second movie to Smile. Look out! We're gonna probably do the new campaign for Smile 2.
Oh yeah. The first one was crazy.
Yeah. So they had a bunch of people placed everywhere around the world, like at football games and baseball games and things like that, and they were just standing there smiling. So I'm sure the same thing is going to be happening with this campaign. I'm not for sure, but I can only think that that's what they would do to get a resurgence in the movie again.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas will be right around the corner. When Christmas comes around, so will Art the Clown.
Nice.
Yeah, they're bringing back Terrifier, so this is the third in the franchise. Yep.
I like how they're just calling it numbers like it was back in the days. Just Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2, Terrifier 3.
Yeah, I like that. To me, that's like typical horror movie.
Yeah.
And unlike like Halloween, where they just called it Halloween, and then Halloween Kills, and
they try
Halloween
to do some
ends.
sort of play on words or something to be more clever than it needs to be. But
no, I just like the numbers.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. And I know you're looking forward to that one.
Oh yeah, Nosferatu. They're making a remake, and if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, you know that's my number one vampire movie. Yes, even above Bella's classic Dracula. That's my favorite.
I'm a Bella guy, and he's a Nosferatu guy.
Nosferatu, all the way. The 1922 original.
Yeah. A fun fact about that one is they're calling it. I'm seeing it more and more in the media now. Is that it was known for fucking ever, I guess, as the most illegal and notorious movie ever made.
Oh, is it because they never got the rights from Bram Stoker?
Yep, they didn't get the rights from the Bram Stoker estate, and they were sued, and basically almost not every copy, because that's why we can still view it and see it, because a couple of them were survived, but they pretty much tried to destroy every single copy of that movie.
I heard about this. Yeah,
because
true.
That's because
the
that's
family
like,
went after them like relentlessly.
Yeah, crazy. Because it's loosely based on Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't get permission for it, and yeah, they got sued, and they tried to just destroy every copy known to existence.
Yeah.
Which was just crazy.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Stoker family. I'm happy you guys failed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a classic. So, which is funny too that they're doing a remake. So obviously now they've either acquired the rights, or they're just
or it just became like sort of like public domain or something like that, because it's such an old property.
Yeah, because would it come out in like 1922 or something like that, or
1922.
Yeah, obviously way before Dracula.
Yeah,
because it was the first vampire movie, even though the book was written in the 1897, 1890 something.
Yeah.
It was the first vampire film, and didn't have the rights, so they basically got fucked. Remake coming out.
Looking forward to that. Totally. But Beetlejuice more.
Yeah, Beetlejuice, definitely. And then if this is successful, they're going to do a third movie of Beetlejuice, and then they're going to call it, at least the working title, they said it's going to be Beetlejuice.
Makes sense. I mean, that's when he comes out, when you say it 3 times.
Yeah. See, something like that with the play on the words.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Everything else that they do that's not a number does not.
Yeah, because it utilizes the lore of the story. That's right on point.
All right. Well, that's our podcast. That's episode 21. We reviewed Arcadian, Taro, and Maxine. Also gave you our Rushmore of actresses. Was that all you needed to say, or?
Well, if you made it to the end, thank you for listening.
Thank you guys very much. We couldn't have done it without you. We appreciate all of you. So remember to stay creepy and keep it spooky. From our grave to yours, these have been your last rites.
This